Grab your popcorn, warm up your TV. Captain John Cmdr Joe got something to see. We're all back in time to the golden past with the Retro Rangers. Oh, it's such a blast. We're flying high with the Retro Ranger. Give it a try and don't be a stranger. Strap yourself in for a fun-filled flight. Retro Rangers are flying tonight. Retro Rangers, 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 Retro Rangers. Grab your popcorn, warm up your TV. Captain John Cmdr Joe got something to see. We're all back in time to the golden past with the Retro Rangers. Oh, it's such a blast. We're flying high with the Retro Ranger. Give it a try and don't be a stranger. Strap yourself in for a fun-filled flight. Retro Rangers are flying tonight. Retro Rangers, Retro Rangers, Retro Rangers, Retro Rangers.
Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Hello, Retro Rangers. Thanks so much for tuning in. A little bit of a technical kerfuffle. I actually mispronounced kerfuffle. That's a kerfuffle, if ever there was one. But as different and as challenging as things are today, it's always fun for you to be here. I'm so glad you're here. Not only am I glad you're here, but the wonderful Joe Townsell, who has overcome so many obstacles to be here, is here. Commander Townsell, what a delight to have you with me today, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. Yes, we had a couple of kerfuffles on both ends, and fortunately, we were able to overcome them in short order. So here we are, ready to retro range.
Absolutely. Now, I understand you are in my time zone right now.
I'm in your time zone right now. I am away from the shuttlecraft. I am on extended away mission in the Starship Luna Levy here in Fresno, California. So yes, I am in your time zone on your star date.
Fresno is a lovely town. People may occasionally mention it as one of the jokey towns in California. That is extremely unfair. I have had a lovely time in the Central Valley, enjoying myself among the almonds and the dates and all the other wonderful things that are in Fresno.
I appreciate it, Captain. I mean, yes, it's a great place. I'm happy to be here for the next few weekends. My lovely friend and extended family member, I promise you the next, she and Tony were the ones I referred to as some people, much to their chagrin. So I have to make sure I identify both of them properly as dear friends and extended family members. It's her birthday weekend, so that's why I'm here. And we're going to have an extended celebration going over the next couple weekends. So
that's lovely.
Yeah.
I am a big believer in make as big a deal out of your birthday as you want. You want to have the birthday week. You want to have the birthday month. By all means, you only get one a year.
Yes.
You should enjoy.
Well, and since it's all over her Facebook account, I hope she doesn't mind me mentioning that she is by far the loveliest 50-year-old lady I've known for years. So obviously it's a big deal. It's a big milestone, and I'm so happy to be here to share it with them.
Just a lovely young lady. That's what we consider anybody younger than us. And,
yes, and she is considerably younger than me, since I'll hit the next milestone next month, as you know.
Yeah.
And I will drop a little hint that, again, I'm here at what they call the Starship Luna Levy. It's their last names. And our special guest next week, assuming that we don't have more fluffles as far as technical glitches, will be the multi-talented, super sweet guy, my very best friend, Tony Luna of Los Hooligans. So more on that later.
We love Tony. Tony has been on previous shows of ours and is just a delight. I always enjoy spending time with Tony. We're going to do kind of a short one tonight, just as an experiment, because we usually go crazy long. There were ways, I think you'll remember from our pitch meetings that you and I have, when we get the staff together, which is the two people on screen right now. I was like, well, we could do this and we could do that. We could add this, we could add that. And then we got the ban hammer from YouTube for one of the shows where I did that, where I was like, oh, I've got 20 clips. And like 19 of those clips were not, we were not allowed to use them. So we got hit hard. Folks, I don't pretend to be a smart man. That's Joe. Joe's the smart man.
Joe who?
I'm just an eager spirit. That's all I am. So, we learn as we go. One of the great things about YouTube, I will give them this, is they said, if you're not trying to monetize, and basically sell your show for commercial time on YouTube, then, we won't ding you. We won't make this a strike on your license, basically. Not that we have licenses, but you know what I'm saying. Yes. And so I'm like, oh, good. I can be as naive as I want to be, because we don't monetize. Well, we kind of do. And I would like to mention that, as always, Starbase 80s Retro Razors are sponsored by JoeAlpha.com. I hope you don't mind if we went with this for our first commercial.
Not a bit, not a bit.
Kind of a classic. So Barry the K is with us, thank goodness. Oh no, there will be Retro Ranger merch.
We're just talking about current status.
Yeah.
And regardless, we are not looking for any ill-gotten gains. So
no,
let's make that clear to anybody who's monitoring that might be a little bit leery of our one show that we had a little problem with. So.
Right. I mean, this one's kind of tricky because we wanted to take on Mad Magazine. Now, Mad Magazine has been on TV before. And there was, of course, Mad TV on Fox. Joe, did I ever tell you how often I used to audition for Mad TV?
You know what? I don't believe so. So let's hear it now for everybody.
This is a terrible story. This is a terrible, terrible story.
All the more reason to hear it now.
You may know Artie Lang.
Oh, yes.
Artie Lang, very funny comedian, living a very tragic life, fighting a very tragic drug problem.
Yes.
And he became a regular on Howard Stern for quite some time, and is very well known now for his troubles. Well, back when we were just youngsters in New York, Artie and I, we belonged to two different sketch groups. And he was in a group called Live on Tape. I was in a group called Chicago City Limits. And he's dynamite. I mean, Artie was always dynamite. At 19, that's when I met him. He was just dynamite, and we liked each other. We're bros. We're cut from the same kind of cloth. So he went to LA and he was on Mad TV. I think I auditioned, but I auditioned for lots of things that I didn't get. So I certainly wasn't like, oh, damn that Artie. So Artie got the gig. Well, Artie Artie's troubles were getting going in those days, with substances and loneliness and being away from his family, being away from his childhood friends. He's very he really is very connected to the people he loves, despite his problems with substances. And Hollywood wasn't playing, so they would do auditions for Artie's job to try to get him to behave. And the short way of doing that, they eventually got down to, which was they would tell his agent, we're talking to John Weber again. And they did that quite a few times. They'd have me in and I'd just have meetings with them, or they'd ask me, hey, you got any new impressions? You got any new bits you do? And then they would let his agent know. And I don't know what his agent would then, and his agent was a great guy too. And I don't know what he would tell Artie, but Artie would get back on the straight and narrow for a little while. And that was kind of going back and forth. And that's my Mad TV story. I never wanted to take Artie's gig. But, let's be serious. I would not have turned it down.
Well, it is show business, It
is show business, especially when you get to TV. TV,
right.
And movies, even more so, I would say, are so mercenary. Like, you can never say, like, man, you're just so commercial. Yeah, that's what TV is. Man, you only think about money and the bottom line. Yeah, that's what TV is. So... I mean, I'd been replaced on shows. I'd been, I'd had people leap over me once or twice. So, it happened. It's cyclical. It happens to a lot of people. But that was very good point from Barry the K. Yeah. If you didn't take it, someone else would have. Yes, absolutely. And
Lang strikes me as the type of professional that would have totally got that.
I think he would have. I mean, honestly, yeah. Artie is the kind of soul who, especially at that time, would never have begrudged somebody who was coming up with him. As bad as things ever got for Artie, he was never that kind of guy who would like blame it on me. Right. And I think it helped. Honestly, I mean, though a lot didn't help, but I think that was a reality check for him. I knew they weren't going to fire him and hire me. I knew that. I never thought that. I did think, hey, Fox is looking at me. Fox likes me. Maybe I'll come up later. I didn't. Maybe I'll
that or something else.
There was anyway, getting back to the subject, which is Mad Magazine. So Mad TV, very loosely associated with Mad Magazine. And then there was the Mad Magazine show that was on the Cartoon Network.
Yes.
And that was pretty good. But I have to tell you, it was aimed at a much younger age than I was. Did you ever check it out, Joe?
It was hard to stumble on because they were like literally 10-minute episodes, as I recall. So you kind of had to look for them. But I did catch a few here and there, and just nice little doses of Mad humor, which, again, even though Mad TV utilized some of the Mad material in addition to their SNL type sketches, the Mad show on the Cartoon Network, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So you got your Spy versus Spy, you got your Don Martin, in abundance.
Yeah, and actually, in that sense, a very good show. Actually, so good, we absolutely cannot show it to you.
Yes, that is definitely a troubled area. And if I may add, one thing I only read about it, I don't know, never seen anything about it, but I know that for a time there was an off-Broadway production called The Mad Show.
Good Lord, I had no idea, Joe.
Early 70s, I believe. So this would predate what we're talking about tonight. Slightly.
Wow.
But that's all I can tell you about it, because it's never been filmed as far as I know. I just know that it existed.
Wow. I'm always looking for stage shows that I might direct.
I mean, the impression I get, it was a large like the Kentucky Fried Theater in terms of a sketch comedy approach for the stage.
And that's always fun too. That is always fun.
Now, John, if I may, I have my own Mad Magazine anecdote. I should have sent you files you could have put up properly on the screen. Hopefully this will work though.
Yeah.
But once upon a time, John and our faithful audience, there was this issue of Mad Magazine.
Yes.
You can see it's from '97.
Yeah.
And inside, I'll try to get it so you can see it. This is a mad peek behind the scenes at a comic book convention illustrated by the legendary Sergio Aragonis.
Oh, yeah.
And let me see if I can get that byline visible. Can you see it?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, yeah.
Now I want to explain that byline, by the way, but
yeah.
It says idea by Joey Townsend back then. And I want to make it clear, it wasn't like, hey, man, you should do an article on comic book conventions. No, I wrote a script. I wrote the pages, but I got greedy. I said, I know they paid by the page.
Yeah.
So I wrote like an 8-page script for this article.
Right.
This is a 2-page spread, which makes a lot more sense.
Right.
They turned it over to one of their veteran writers, Lou Silverstone.
Oh,
but they did give me the idea credit, even though a lot of my material was retained in this, and paid me a nice little sum for it. So that's my Mad Magazine credit.
This is what's so exciting about having Joe Townsend on the show. Not only is he a great producing partner, he's a great co-host, but he is a professional writer. He actually, like, people give him money. They want to give him money. Me, it's like I'm robbing most of the people I work for. But they love your talent just as we do here on the on good old Starbase 80. Let's see. Is there anything else we might mention? The show that we're about to show you was now. Okay, this is a Mandela effect. I'm sorry, I always say it wrong. Mandela effect. Problem for me. I could have sworn this made it to air, the special that we are about to watch. But everything I read says it was never aired. It was a pilot that was never aired. What have you heard about it, Joe?
I'm with you. I had heard that it aired once and just never got picked up.
Yeah.
Because it seems awfully finished and polished for something that never aired. Usually, when they determine that, it's not always complete, is my understanding.
Yeah. That does happen. A lot of times a pilot will be shot sort of independently of a network.
Yes.
And what's good about that is if the network that you have a relationship with looks at it, because that's a lot of what they pay for is the first look. We're exclusive to you. You're exclusive to us. So show us the show you want to make. Yeah. And as happened with this pilot and happens with a bunch of pilots, the pilot gets made, it gets brought in, all the executives sit down, they take a look at it, and then they go, oh, God, no, we're not doing that. I don't know if people know, like, another anecdote from my career, which I won't go into deeply, is I was on a show that was the result of the Man Show, which was contracted to do a half-hour pilot for ABC. And so Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla and the production company was Stone Stanley, who had done a bunch of shows for Comedy Central. And that team put together their half hour and they brought it to ABC. Now they did have a back door out of that, which was helpful because ABC looked at it and said, no, this is not going on our network, which then triggered the producers of the Man Show to go, fine. Well, now we own it because you said no, and we can take it to everybody. And they did. They took it to every single network and cable outlet. They took it everywhere. And they pitched it, and Comedy Central eventually said yes. That's the nice part of the story. Of course, the bad part of the story is a network, and I won't mention their names, said, well, I want to do the show, but I don't want to do it with these guys. So they created their own show, which was different enough and they hired 4 guys to host it, and I was one of those guys.
Oh, well, see, that would have been awesome. For a moment there, I was saying, oh, what a cheap, crummy ripoff. But no, with John, it would have been wonderful. Darn it.
Well, it was a different show. It
Yeah.
was a different show. And it had what we did was we did an hour each night. They wanted to do half an hour once a week, which of course they did. They were written. We were not. We were a live to tape show. It was different, but there was still a huge lawsuit the whole time that I was on the show. And Jimmy Kimmel hates us to this day.
Oh,
I was watching him on Bill Maher's podcast, and he's smoking a big old blunt, and he still can't get over it. He still is not over it. Bro, come on. You're like one of the kings of television right now. Why are you so mad that I got a little slice of your crumbs?
I mean, I think he's probably risen well above that at this point. I would tend to agree, but hopefully someday, maybe you two will be co-hosts someday in another project. That would be something to see.
That would be something to see. I would definitely have to convince him I was someone else. Okay. Barry the K is trying to guess which network got into trouble. It was none of the ones you're guessing, Barry. All right.
John, one more thing. I'm sorry
Yes.
but I just want to make sure. My understanding was that we're going to be looking, as far as Mad Magazine related material, at the TV special.
Yeah.
If that's what the only one we're looking at, I will mention that a lesser light in Mad's achievements once upon a time was Mad Magazine presents Up the Academy.
Yes, that's right. I was
And
thinking about
was
that
a
later.
low light.
That was crazy. It actually resulted in one of my favorite Mad Magazine moments where they did the satire of their own movie. And they were merciless. I don't know the whole story behind that. And I actually was arguing about whether or not we should watch a portion of it, but I figured, we're already getting in trouble for showing copyrighted material.
And you won't mention the network. I won't mention the studio that got a little bit out of shape, but it was the same studio, so that might have been a problem.
Yeah.
And the name of the satire, which they at that issue, they just basically removed their usual letters page and instead put in their satire, their own movie, Mad Magazine Resents Throw Up the Academy.
Oh my gosh, I'd forgotten.
That's just something that Bill Gaines just never lived down, I guess, poor guy.
Hey man, look, it is tough to jump media. That's the plural. It's tough to go from magazine to TV or magazine to movie. I mean, National Lampoon's Animal House was a lot of the Lampoon guys made it.
Right.
That was not the case with Up the Academy.
No.
It had very little to do with the guys who were in charge. And, it was just not a good movie.
Not a good movie. It was basically, my understanding is they just essentially bought the rights to use the Mad Magazine title.
Absolutely.
You've
licensed.
Yeah. It was so funny because, and this was actually kind of creepy. We love Alfred E. Newman. We were posing with him in the promo for this week's show.
Absolutely.
They made up some guy, I guess it was a full Alfred E. Newman mask, but it was kind of made into, so it looked like it was supposed to be his actual head.
Yes.
It just looked like some kind of mutant. And they stuck him in there a few times.
Yeah.
But when at first, I think they later reinstated these elements. But when it turned out to be so bad, Mad Magazine actually bought back the rights to remove all elements of Mad Magazine from that movie.
I had no idea. I think I had seen it again. Like I saw it in the theater.
Right.
But when I did see it again, like on cable or something, I know I was bracing myself because yes, their Alfred E. Newman was very perturbed, disturbing, I think is the right word that I'm looking for. Really ugly and really like gross, just really gross. And yeah, they took it out, didn't they?
But you got that, and they removed Mad Magazine Presents from the title. So it was just some movie that called Up the Academy, but like I said, I think on subsequent DVD releases and so forth, they came back somehow.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. And I have to thank the aforementioned good buddy of the show and me and you, Tony Luna, for reminding me about Up the Academy to mention tonight.
You know, I it flashed across my mind a couple of times, but it because we are so fresh off of getting this copyright ding on us, I was just too scared to even bring it up. I was like, let's just move on. Let's just go on, because we're pretty sure we can't get in trouble for showing you tonight's Mad Magazine TV special from 1974. All right, let's get that lined up. I'm sorry, it's never pretty when I'm doing this. Really, you know, it'd be great one of these days, Joe. We hire somebody to do the engineering instead of me.
Well, I guess in terms of polish, but not in terms of entertainment.
He's so kind. He's so kind. All right. Am I here? Okay, good. All right, here we go. Now, I swear I've seen this before, but maybe I haven't. The Mad Magazine TV special from 1974.
There's our man.
Regular programming will not be seen at this time, so we may bring you the Mad Magazine TV special.
Timing.
Yes.
Things are a little leisurely back in the 70s.
With the Automobile Manufacturer of the Year.
Have this issue.
The Academy Awards for Parents. Mad X-Raving.
Fat shaming. Very funny.
The Art Father. A peek behind the scenes at a hospital. And the kind of horror you've learned to expect from Mad's usual gang of idiots.
Don Martin.
TV special is brought to you by
JoeTonsel.com? No.
Well, I guess you were supposed to get like some front cell there.
I'm Bluntly, speaking to you from Detroit, Michigan. We're here for another interview with people who make America great. Our guest today is Mr. Edsel Lemon, the famous industrial tycoon who was recently named as Mad's Auto Manufacturer of the Year.
Don, who is the original Mad Magazine artist of this article? Do you recognize it from the animation?
Oh, gee, I should. No, tell me.
George Woodbridge.
This is George Woodbridge. Ah, fantastic. I also love that they're not using the name Howard Cronkite or Howard Crankcase or however they would go, even though that drawing is clearly Walter Cronkite. What's the other reference I had in there? Edsel. Does anybody know what an Edsel is anymore?
Well, I mean, back then they would have. It was fairly recent, about 15 years out beyond the failure of the Edsel. But I think for our younger viewers, meaning someone who's like less than 50, maybe not.
Yeah. And Edsel was a classic bomb of a car. It was a terrible car, and it was a Ford Edsel, I believe, right?
I believe so. Most recently, I believe, mentioned in the movie Peggy Sue Got Married with Kathleen Turner.
Oh, right. She's like, oh, you got an Edsel.
Yeah, she's laughing her butt off, and you got an Edsel, Dad.
All right, here we go.
Well, seeing all these new cars rolling out of the plant, I'd assume that business is very good these days, Mr. Lemon.
No, business is very rotten these days. Those are last year's cars rolling back into the plant to have their mechanical defects fixed. Some layout, huh? We've got 38,000 men working on the assembly line.
The ring true today.
15,000 engineers designing expensive new accessories, and one kid who comes in after school to work on our anti-pollution device. This is the bumper section. Oh, those men are about to attach a bumper to a car.
Well, I had no idea a bumper was so heavy that it takes 6 men to carry.
Oh, no, that's not because it's so heavy. Those 6 men are carrying it as a safety precaution. It's so brittle, if they ever drop it, it'll shatter into a million pieces. This is our accessory department, where we design all the innovations like these power seat covers, the electric ashtrays, and the Spiro Agnew dashboard clock.
I see. And who needs these accessories?
Our dealers. How do you expect them to get rich if they can't sell at least $3,000 worth of accessories to go with every $2,000 car?
And
I should point out that this was at a time where American manufacturing was not respected very much, or but there was a lot of it. Nowadays, American manufacturing people are like, whoa, well, that's awesome. Let me check this out. But back in those days, it was considered not so great. And I had a friend whose father, and so this was about 75, 76. So this was really close to this time. His father had a Toyota lot. His father sold Toyotas. And there was so much hatred for the Japanese car back in those days.
I have a related anecdote. Actually, I'm glad you paused for one, because it would be interesting to see a follow-up to this article if Mad Magazine still produced new material, which they don't, unfortunately, tragically.
Yeah.
But Mad visits a Tesla factory, because I've learned recently that you can get certain packages with your Tesla that include such worthwhile accessories such as broadcast over the PA system fart noises. This to me is a vital feature in any automobile. So I'm so glad we've come so far in our automotive technology.
I'll tell you, I'd rather use that than the horn.
Yeah.
That would work for my purposes. All right. Here we go.
that man, I take it, is trying to make some new accessory from transistorized components?
No. He's double checking the fine print in our new car warranty to make sure that everything that could go wrong is always the customer's fault. Hop in, I'll take you over to the proving grounds where we're testing the prototypes of our new model. Every model prototype must successfully cover this very dangerous obstacle course. Now, the test driver starts the car at the top of that hill there and rolls it nearly 500 feet to the bottom.
But I don't see any obstacle.
Are you kidding? That's enough of an obstacle. If our prototype can go 500 feet without falling apart, we put it in production. Now, I'd like to show you our safety research department.
Well, you've certainly got it in a beautiful building.
I love how this domestic
No,
car
this
actually
isn't
looks
it.
like.
This is our executive indoor.
I'm sorry. What was that, Joe?
I love how this domestic car with the wind-up in the back is actually a Volkswagen.
I love how this modern-looking building looks just like where the Legion of Supervillains get together.
May not be a coincidence.
It may not be, actually.
Golf course. Safety research is over there. This is George. He's working on new safety belts.
That's right. As you know, the average car has two safety belts in front. Now, we've had 5 more belts. One runs from the dashboard to the rear window, one runs from the engine to the trunk, one runs from the roof to the floorboard, one runs... Those 5 extra belts should really make passengers safe.
Oh, who cares about passengers? We're using them to hold the car together.
What about the pollution problem, Mr. Lemon? What are you doing about exhaust fumes that foul our air?
I'm happy to report that next year we are doing something. We are following the lead of cigarette manufacturers.
You mean like putting a filter on the end of the exhaust pipe to trap the dangerous gases?
No, like putting a sticker on the side of every car. Breathing in auto exhaust fumes may be hazardous to your health.
Then basically you don't go along with Henry Ford's idea on automobile production.
Who's Henry Ford?
Well, he discovered it by keeping...
Greta Thunberg would be horrified.
That's like the great stealth joke in this whole thing. Who's Henry Ford?
Same design year after year, he could afford to sell cars for $300.
No wonder I never heard of him. I don't associate with Tommy Rabbit. Come on, I'll drive you home.
Fine. I've been looking at ads for cars, and I hate to say it, but they're misleading and deceptive. You said deceptive. Well, they say your cars are durable and dependable. You just show me your cars and they're durable and dependable.
No, what difference does that make? Even if we made good, fast, and dependable cars, we'll never know it. There's no room for them to move anyway.
I see what you mean. This is Howard K. Bluntly signing off.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
You know, it occurs to me watching this how much Mad Magazine and the sense behind Mad Magazine shaped how I think of comedy, because that ending there where they go to this big picture, you know, that's escalation.
Yes.
You've taken the visual components of what we're seeing and then you make it much bigger and ridiculous at the end, and that's your punchline. And that's actually good comedy. That's classic Mad Magazine right there.
Well, as you can see how beyond the humor, I mean, you can see how well it adapts to the visual medium, animation, you know, and it just lends itself because it is a visual medium across the board. So
Absolutely.
our special's off to a great start.
So here we go. Now, normally there might be a spy versus spy at this point, or maybe a Don Martin page. Let's see what they take us to. Oh, Don Martin.
Okay, mamas and the snickums, darling, sweetie, honey, baby. Nappy time is over. Time to get dry and ready for Benny Boy. First, we take out the little rubber dollies.
Honestly, Edna, don't you think you're spoiling that duck a little?
Oh, sorry.
You're not ready for it.
We are not in any way saying you should play that game.
No.
Unless you want.
Hey, eventually Mad Magazine itself accepted that. That's okay. You know, I've seen these many times.
These are so Mad Magazine.
Look at these gas prices.
Oh my God.
It's all one tank.
I do not recognize the artist here. Is this Paul J. Coker?
Great, very impressive, John. Yes, he would have done the original article. I think this is tried to be in his style, but he did the art. I think they did X Ravings 2 or 3 times. It wasn't an ongoing feature.
And if I remember correctly, it's Paul J. Coker Jr.
Yes.
Did you hear about the new trailer camp
Oh,
they
Roger
opened up
Sputnik.
about 5 miles down the road? It's a heck of a lot nicer than this place. I'm moving down there.
Really? I'm going to.
So much.
Me too, wait.
Well,
This, of course, taken from the lighter side of ...
Ah,
Good Lord. Ooh, this man's been run over by a steamroller.
That's
Get
more-
to the hospital, quick.
more Don Martin.
Yes. Okay, I have to tell you, my all-time favorite Don Martin cartoon.
Yes.
So many of them.
Yeah.
It's always titled like "One Fine Night in the Castle," something like that.
Yeah.
So, one fine night in the castle, the princess is being served her dinner by Jeeves, the butler.
Uh-huh.
Puts down the thing. She lifts the lid. "Oh, Jeeves, the frog's legs look divine." She picks up a frog and goes, "Oh," and they all turn into prince legs.
It's even funny when someone describes it to you.
That means it's great humor and with very little dialogue too. And the one X rating, I must have been from another installment that I was looking for here, similar to the gas pump one.
Yeah.
It shows a woman spending hours sorting all of her letters at the post office, you know, foreign, domestic, airmail, whatever, and they're all being dumped into one big bag.
I love the fact that we were kids reading Mad Magazine, or in this case, watching this TV special, which we certainly would have if we could have. And it would have so many like jokes about like modern life, consumerism, materialism, people being hypocrites, bigotry. They would they would basically shine a light on all these things. And here I am, 12 years old, 13 years old, learning about all of this stuff from Mad Magazine. Things that I think of to this day, principles I have in my head, even now.
Well, I mean, as you know, John, I started reading Mad quite accidentally or unexpectedly at about the age of 9.
Yeah.
The cover, the main item inside, the main takeoff was based on a Clockwork Orange.
Oh, yeah.
Clockwork Orange, Kubrick,
Yeah.
Anthony Burgess novel. Redone for Mad Magazine, of course, as a Clockwork Lemon, illustrated by George Woodbridge. And I'm 9 years old. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
Because that during Mad's peak, they were writing for at least high school and college audience.
Yes.
And
but literate crowd.
It hadn't have done Martin Spy versus Spy. It had something for the younger age groups as well.
Yeah.
And just so much talent for over the decades.
Well, that's the thing. You had very adult writers and adult artists working on this. And actually, my parents really held me back for a long time because there might be like a topless woman with her arm across her boobs or something. Yeah. My parents were like, oh, that's way too dirty. No, you can't read that. But eventually, I started sneaking them into the house the way a kid would sneak in Playboys.
Remind me, I'll save it for the end of the show, time permitting, but I'll have one final Mad Magazine anecdote that I think our audience will find pretty funny.
Excellent.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mad's Academy Awards for Parents.
This is not going to be awards for
Here in this overstuffed, garishly decorated living room, Mr. and Mrs. Wilbur Nazel, overlooking their other 3.5 uncomfortable rooms, we have gathered to honor those people whose acting performances best illustrate the time-honored and traditional concepts of parenthood. Now, the winner will receive this lovely 14-carat solid gold-plated statuette, the Mommy. And now, on with the show! The nominees are, for Best Supporting Actress in a Teenager's Sloppy Room, Mrs. Elsie Gladbuck for her memorable performance in You're Just Impossible.
What do you think I am? Your personal maid? You think all I have to do is pick up after you? Your friends should see how you keep your room. I'll bet their rooms are neat. I'll bet their rooms are clean. I'll bet their rooms are worse. Don't change the subject. It's your room I'm talking about.
For best adaptation of an original Getting Rid of the Kid for the Summer routine, Mrs. Alice Corker for her heart-rending scene in It's You We're Thinking Of.
Darling, your leading hurts us more than it hurts you. How do you think we'll feel awesome along without our little man around the house? But don't worry about us. We're happy to sacrifice so you can have a wonderful summer at camp. But what if I hate camp? You'll write us all about it while we're in Europe.
For Best Original Score in the typical coming late for supper song and dance, Mrs. Hortense Inlay for her inspiring number in I Could Drop Dead for All You Care.
What do you care that I sweat all day over a hot stove? You were supposed to be home half an hour ago. Instead of waltzing in late, you should get down on your hands and knees and be grateful you have such a devoted mother. Well, this is the end. For all I care, you can eat your dinner cold. What are we having for dinner? Tuna fish salad.
For special effects.
This is another thing that I realize now watching this, which was I was a little kid growing up in New Hampshire. And, Christian upbringing, Sunday school kid. My parents had us go to church every Sunday. And here I am, I'm sitting down, I'm reading comedy that I love. And I'm getting all of these ideas from Jewish comedy writers. I never had a mother like that, but I knew that there were mothers like that because it was such a big staple of comedy. Oh, I could drop dead for all you care. I remember my father, I would do like bits that had like Yiddish accents in them. And my father being like, where do you pick this stuff up? How do you know anything about this? A mitzvah? How do you know what a mitzvah is? How do you know what the Sabbath is? it's hilarious now because I look right at Mad Magazine, especially when they have the scene with the little kid. He's going off to camp, and it takes place at Penn Station in New York City, which I didn't see till I was in my like late 20s. It's just nuts how much I learned from Mad Magazine.
The original artist of this article in print was the lesser known but equally genius Jack Rickard.
Jack Rickard, holy cow! Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the animation style wasn't terribly reminiscent of it, but you can see it. Not but he just had the most elegant and yet fluid, art style.
Yes, a very graphic, very Madison Avenue.
I'm sure. I think that was his background, if I recall. And
yeah,
the genius of Mad generally, and of course of Gaines and the editors and so on, is the ability that in short order they would match the artist and writer with the types of articles that they just excelled at, and they never failed in those pairings.
Barry Cordman, your comment, see, now Barry grew up in Jersey, and Barry's family is Jewish, and they keep kosher, and they're lovely people, and I'm always like trying to impress him with how much like Yiddish I know. He's not that impressed. But he doesn't know kids from New Hampshire other than me. It's pretty impressive that I would know any of this stuff.
In the You Kids Today Have No Respect for Money category, Mrs. Phyllis Freeble for her touching performance in Upset? Who's upset?
You think Bob has made you play football in your brand new suit? You think I care that it costs $65 of your father's hard-earned money? You think I'm upset that it'll take $15 or $20 to reweave it? You think I'm disturbed that you disobeyed my orders? You think I'm angry? Gee, Mom, I knew you'd understand.
The winner is Mrs. Richard Clouds for her brilliant reversal in I Get No Help Around Here.
Who do you think you are, the Queen from Sheba? Is it beneath you to help with the dishes? Are you afraid you'll sway your dainty little head? From now on, everyone in this house does her share, or else she can move out. What mean? I'll move out. Don't you get sarcastic with me, young lady.
Well, that's it.
I should point out that it looks like she's on a phone. No, those phones hadn't been invented yet. She's listening to a transistor radio, I believe.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I of course thought that was a phone, but you're right. That was well before cordless phones.
That's crazy. 1974. Joe, has it occurred to you? I mean, has it hit you that this was 50 years ago?
Oh my goodness. Well, it didn't, but of course it lines up because this came out again not long after I started reading the magazine generally.
Yeah. And the way animation was done, especially in those days, took a long time. So it was probably created a little earlier than that. Maybe 2 years, maybe a year.
Definitely some these articles predated because I would find once I started Mad and I was getting it regularly, I said, okay, then I started building up my back issue supply. So I had a lot of these in earlier issues than the one from which I started.
Yeah. Okay.
As Mad's Academy Awards for parents draw to a close, and the recipients and hopefuls rush for the exit so they can get home quick and start screaming and raving and carrying on, trying to qualify for next year's coveted awards, we bid you all goodbye. Bye!
Don Martin.
Well done.
You know what time.
Don't do it.
I don't do it. Nice music. Jack Davis.
It's not hard to guess this artist.
Yeah.
Probably Don Martin and Jack Davis, my two favorites.
Yeah.
Above all of these.
Oh, come on.
Hey, you have an hour this week, right? Yeah. Great. I can teach you how.
Sorry, I gotta get that. I'm so sorry about this. Here, come on. Yeah, I gotta go through.
How to play 100 songs on piano in an hour? No way.
There hasn't been a nurse in that room for 2 weeks. How come they're all rushing in now?
It's tip time. Nurses can smell patients who are checking out a mile away.
I guess you're right. 4 of them are from another hospital.
In the
The
hospital.
heart patient in 413 just had a serious relapse.
Hey, Larry,
What happened?
What's that, Joe?
I was saying, being in the hospital a few times in the last few years
Oh,
makes me say, oh boy, what was going on behind closed doors? And I always love the art style where they just basically did cutaways of all the walls. They could just show everything at once.
yes, yes. And do you think this is based off Al Jaffe?
I believe you're right, because he, in addition to the very famous Mad Fold-ins, he did all kinds of stuff. He was second only, I think, to Argonis as far as big crowd scenes.
Yes.
You know, like this.
Yeah. And he had a draftsman's eye.
yes.
You know, here he is showing us a layout of a hospital, you know, from a certain up angle. And he has, as you pointed out, he has cutout walls so that we get to look in. But you have to have a good sense of, you know, architecture in order to draw something like this.
Well, he did articles that did take off some. One of my same issue I started with, Planned Obsolescence was the name of it, and he had just real intricate diagrams and blueprints and schematic drawings of fictional devices and inventions.
Yeah, yeah. You know, a lot of times people don't give these artists credit. And when I mentioned Madison Avenue earlier, too, a lot of the advertising of the time would feature drawings by Jack Davis and Mort Drucker. There were a bunch of them that were making really good money drawing for magazine ads and the like, newspaper ads.
He rang the button over his head for a nurse, and one actually showed up.
One time I waited 2 hours.
Oh my God, really?
You've got the name tags on these babies all mixed up. Now
Oh, no.
we'll never know which infant is which.
Don't worry, the mothers will never know either.
Oh, good Lord.
Hey, who put a lock on this bathroom door? Bathroom doors in hospitals are not supposed to have locks.
I know. They're taking all the fun out of nursing. Now how can we walk in unexpectedly and embarrass the patients?
Ready to operate, Doctor?
Okay, Mr. Gumbill, now just drink this glass of whiskey and bite down on this bullet. We'll have that little old gallbladder out in a jiff.
Maybe I better check the credentials of this new anesthesiologist.
How awful. If only he could have held on for another hour.
Why? Is his doctor coming?
No, we could have charged him for an extra day.
Nurse, what's the idea of allowing Mr. Fulgus to fall asleep? You know he's supposed to have the medication I prescribed at precisely 8 p.m.
I'm sorry, Doctor. It won't happen again.
Okay. Now wake him up and give him the sleeping pills.
That's true.
I was about to ask, that is such an old joke of, you know, being woken up as a patient to take a sleeping pill. And you're saying that's true, Joe?
That is true. I mean, they'll also wake you up to ask how you're sleeping.
This is why Mad Magazine was so important, because a lot of times it was telling the truth.
Hey, the best humor, as you know, as a fantastic comedian, John, is that the best humor, the best comedy comes from reality.
From reality, absolutely, and relativity, relativity.
I don't think it's relativity in this case, because you can relate.
He ate the patient lunch and he threw up.
Well, that's not unusual considering the food in this hospital. Try feeding him intravenously.
I did.
And?
His vein threw up.
That's bad food.
Come on, try again. Now, this has been going on for 3 days now. Why can't you admit this patient?
Well, he hasn't been able to tell us his Blue Cross number.
But these charges are ridiculous.
$30 for a box of monogram stationery, and $250 for a donation to your new Sarah J. Fingerhut Memorial Pavilion.
But, sir, one of our solicitors sold these to you right after you came up from the recovery room.
I don't remember that at all.
Of course you wouldn't. You were delirious at the time. How dare you charge me for a private room when my bed was in the corridor?
Because yours was the only bed in the corridor. Where are you going with that garbage? You're taking it out the garbage. That garbage is the food that's coming in.
Oh,
Hospital food, am I right? Oh, good. Spy versus spy.
oh,
Got me.
at the very beginning, thanks, John. There was spy versus spy versus spy.
What? There were 3 spies?
There were 3 spies. The third one did not look like these guys.
Yeah.
It was a regular, like femme fatale type, a woman.
Oh.
But I think it just didn't balance. I think they Proheus, who did the strip, I think he wisely just knocked it down to the black and white spies.
There's a joke somewhere of like back in the day, it was spy versus spy, but nowadays nowadays you'd actually have to deal with like your neighbor who would be supporting the other spy.
Oh,
this is my problem.
Now here comes some good, more Drucker art. Well adapted.
Now, The Godfather, of course, is what they're taking off here.
Yes.
That was previous to 1974, right? I think that was a 1972 release.
Yes, the Godfather movie was 72.
Yeah.
So that's at that time in history, in Mad Magazine history, there was about a 6-month lag.
I do remember that. I do remember there being a lag. Yeah.
So the original article would have appeared probably in 73, and now here we see it adapted in animation a year after that.
I'm interested in hearing who's doing the voice work. Let's see if I can recognize anybody from my fandom. Oh, yeah, that's some sweet Mort Drucker art right there.
I propose to toast to Don Vito Minestrone, the biggest syndicate leader in the country. Hey, you. I'm with the Syndicate Anti-Defamation League. Don't you know you're not supposed to use the word syndicate in this picture?
Oh, sorry.
How about a toast to Don Vito Minestrone, the biggest racketeer murderer in the country?
That's better.
What a fantastic makeup job. How do they ever get him to look so old? I can't believe it's really Marlo Brandon.
Yeah, that's Marlo Brandon.
Oh, Papa, I'm so happy on my wedding day. Why aren't you happy, too? Why do you look so pained?
You think it's easy to see a little girl grow up? You think it's easy to give her away to another man? You think it's easy to talk with 8 pounds of cotton in your cheeks?
It is good voice work.
It is.
There are people waiting to ask favors of you.
Okay, bring them in one at a time and have them pay their respects to the Godfather.
This is Mr. Buongiorno.
It's not Minestrone, I need a kiss in your ring. Yes, so far so good. And I growl under your feet. Not bad. And I lick your left shoe. Okay, now show some respect. Here in the illustrious artifact, manipulator of the word, the government's the most exalted of the personages, honored to be thy name. Beautiful. Now what can I do for you on this holy occasion? I want you to rub out the 2 lousy things. Okay. Oh, Don Minestrone, how can I ever thank you? Swear to me in your mother's grave that when I ask you for a favor, you will grant it. Mother's grave? My mother, she isn't dead yet. Just remember that when I ask for a favor. Now cry here, others are waiting.
That's a good joke. That's a good joke.
This is Angie Maggio.
Santa Lucia! Santa Lucia! It's a miracle, a miracle.
What's a miracle?
I just met the only Italian in the world who can sing. What can I do for you?
There's a great part in a new movie that I want, but the producer won't give it to me.
Even tell the producer to give Mr. Maggio the part or he break his back.
Oh, thank you, Hot Father. Santa Lucia! Santa Lucia!
Even tell
I
Mr.
think most
Maggio to
French
stop
ballad original
singing
novel.
or I break his mouth.
Damn.
Don't worry about Bloodsore. I think there's going to be bloodshed between his family and ours.
Look at the big car barreling down the street. It's him.
Don't worry, that's not them.
Oh my God, a French connection.
And
A French connection reference and a bullet reference. Wow, they are way off the menu here. Good for them. Really making Mort Drucker work for it, too.
Yes.
Don't worry, that's not them. Now you can worry.
Is he dead? Did those two hoods in the big black car gun him down? Well, not exactly. When they got within 50 feet of him, a mugger who was stealing woman's purse ran into the path of the hijacked truck going the wrong way at a one-way street which swerved into a drug push, a stolen motorcycle, and they all got on top of it. In other words, he died in natural causes.
Natural causes. Oh my God. Now, I should mention that as a rural kid reading this stuff, even though I knew it was based on a movie, even though I knew it was it was based on fiction, I still had this idea that all of New York was so dirty and gritty and that people were getting gunned down in the streets. It didn't make me not want to go to New York. I did want to go. But I remember learning so much about New York from Mad Magazine.
Natural causes? In New York, that's a natural cause. Hey, wait a minute. He's not dead after all. He's trying to speak. What's he saying? It's hard to tell. He's hurt so bad he's mumbling, so I can't understand him. I got news for you. He talks like that when he's not hurt, too. How's my father, Doc?
Well, he's retching and he's gasping for breath and he's moaning a lot.
He's fighting for his life?
No, he's fighting for an Oscar.
Oh, for an Oscar. Oh, boy.
Oh, you think so?
Fine, Pop. I'm engaged to a swell girl on top of my class at law school, and in my spare time I work in United Charities.
That's so funny, the guy they chose, because that's Al Pacino's character.
Yes. Now, I think we're past the point where we'll see it, so I'm going to mention now that they seem to be lacking one of my favorite panels in the original magazine takeoff, and that is, of course, you remember in The Godfather that they got back at one guy for sawing off his horse's head and putting it in the bed with him.
Exactly. Yeah.
In Mad Magazine, it was everything but the head. You just saw this big horse's butt sticking out of the sheet.
Horse's ass was a huge comedy reference back in the day.
I'm sorry I asked.
Oh, Pop, don't start him again. I mean, just because I believe in law and order.
Get out of here with your dirty mouth!
But Pop,
Get the stranger out! Bring me his son!
Papa, sometimes you get me so angry, I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. Because you know what I feel like doing right now? I feel like killing you. I feel like killing my own father.
Hey, my boy's gonna be all right.
My friend with Pop in a hospital and his gang war going on. We need you. It's time you join a family business.
But silly, I have great aspirations. I'm going to be a governor or a senator.
Listen, kid, if you want to be a big-time criminal like a governor or a senator, you got to start at the bottom and work yourself up. We want you to meet Palazzo in Charlie's restaurant.
If your family wants to stay healthy, you better come in on a cottage deal. Hey, what's the matter? You look nervous.
Me? No, I'm not Palazzo. Mr. Nervous. I mean,
well, what's with you? Now where you going, huh?
Oh, I'll be right back. I just got to go to the gun room. The men's room. I mean... Oh, boy, am I scared. Now, where's the stash the gun? Maybe they'll leave me a message. Here's something written on the wall. You're sick, broken-hearted. No, that's not it. Okay, now what I gotta do is remember it for me. Calmly go up to Blossom, shoot twice in the head, drop the gun, and leave. That's simple enough. Be calm, be cool, and above all, don't...
Oh, boy.
What happened? The maniac came out of the men's room firing a gun. Looks like he shot everybody in the place. Everybody but Palazzo. How did he get it?
from complications brought on by eating too much cmdr, beer, parmigiani, and lasagna. In other words, he died of natural causes. Natural causes. In an Italian restaurant, that's natural causes.
I do love the natural causes joke. I do love it coming back.
The best running gags, there's a reason they're running gags.
Yes. You got to commit to it. It takes a lot of commitment, but I do love a running gag.
It's great to have you home again, Papa. And I got good news. Michael took care of Blotzo.
My little boy's first killing. I'm so proud of him. Remind me to have his gun bronze. Where's he now? Sicily, waiting for the heat to die down.
No, in the bathroom, waiting for his stomach to die down.
Here, dumb tomato, how can you send me this slop? I told you I want chicken fettuccine, pepperoni, ravioli, vermicelli, manicotti.
I know! But for breakfast?
What's that, Kenny? Golly, beat you up again? Do you think I'll kill him? Hold until I get there. What? I don't know. Hit him over the head with a lamp or push him down the stairs. Just don't do anything rash. Why do we follow me, Cindy?
I do like also the commitment to the word think.
Yes.
Which was very much a heavily used word in Mad Magazine.
And we shouldn't rush past the classic reference, which I'd forgotten years ago, which I would now use again.
Yeah.
Here I sit brokenhearted, tried to poop, but only farted. Classic graffiti.
Which I never would have known existed, except I read Mad Magazine. Exactly. And they would do that joke quite a bit.
Strony suspects Carly is working for Linguini and may be setting Cindy up. So we gotta protect him and... Uh-oh, too late.
Poor Cindy. Papa knew it would happen to him one of these days. Papa warned him so many times.
You mean that Don was right? Those were Linguini's men in disguise?
No, they were real toll collectors. Papa must have told him 1,000 times. Never go up to a toll booth with a $20 bill.
Can't change that.
Another thing that I've always loved, and I think I know how they did it, was you would see panels in Mad Magazine's TV and movie satires, and they would look so much like what you had seen on the screen.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, we were talking offline about the great Mort Drucker. Of course, this is his artwork.
Yeah.
And I personally do a decent job of doing one caricature of a person.
Right.
In a 7-8 page takeoff of a movie.
Yeah.
Over and over again. I mean, everyone looked just as good as the rest.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if I'm sure they had connections because they were connected to Warner. So I'm sure it wasn't impossible for them to get like photos, like, I don't know, lobby cards or part of a press release for these movies. And so maybe they could base a lot of the very key scenes off of drawing from, what was in those photos from the actual set, from the actual movie. But it just looks great. So often it looks like the movie. Or the
John, you hit it right on the head, because I do happen to know that that's exactly what happened. They got all kinds of materials to work from, and I'll mention briefly one of my favorite coincidences, I guess, where Mort Drucker did the movie poster art for American Graffiti, and then they went on to do the art for the takeoff in Mad Magazine called American Confetti.
Yes, that's right. It would always blow my mind when I would see Mort Drucker's art being legit and not being a satire.
That and Jack Davis and others, but the coolest part about that, they acknowledged it subtly.
Yeah.
Where you saw a panel in the American Confetti takeoff that's just like the movie poster. And then in the very next panel, it shows them a different angle where they're like, look goofy as can be.
I call this meeting of all the families because my heart is broken. My son Sidney's dead, and my boy Michael has been in exile in a bedroom for 6 months. Now between us, we control the nation's gambling, prostitution, narcotics. Without us, this whole country will come to a standstill. I say it's time to get this country moving again. this war must end. We must stop destroying each other and start destroying us plain ordinary citizens again, like normal American businessmen. Agreed? Agreed?
Agreed. Yeah, agreed.
I got to do that too. You only have to kiss me enough to learn. Unless there's no more war between families,
Oh, what now,
now
Donna?
due to ripe old age and
They're coming to
peace.
get you.
You chased me, Grandpa.
Of course I chase you, Angie, little grandson, and then we'll play some silly kitty games like hide and think and cops and good guys.
Our father is dead. He suffered a heart attack chasing little Angie. He was a kind man, a gentle soul, a good-hearted person and a decent human being.
Did he say any last words before he died?
Yeah, he wants someone to lean on the kid.
With Don Minestrone dead, I'm taking over as head of all the families. Not so fast, Linguini. It's Mike Minestrone. He's back from the bathroom.
He's beginning to act like the odd father.
Now let's get things straight. I'm in charge here.
He's beginning to look like the odd father.
And from now on, when I say goes, do I make myself clear?
He's even beginning to sound like the odd father.
And I got plans, big plans. We're gonna make millions.
He is the odd father.
We're going legit. We're going to show business. We're going to make a movie about us. Can't you just see now? Heroes everywhere will show who else.
Yeah.
Critics everywhere will love it. Who else? And the people everywhere will be standing in line waiting to see it. Who else? And we're winning the Academy Award.
Yeah.
We'll start the movie off in my sister Kenny's way. And then what will happen?
That's a fade out.
The Mad Magazine TV special has been brought to you by...
And then I guess you're supposed to insert your own commercials because this is a pilot.
This is our hero.
And sadly, no one picked up this pilot. Oh, well.
You got the magazine stamp. What's going on?
Look at that. Okay, now I have to say I'm a little perturbed because I guess there was a Dave Berg something in here, and I misidentified it, and I didn't realize it was supposed to be Dave Berg because he was always
referred to it,
favorites.
but not totally specifically. It was the one bit where the people in the trailer park all vamoosed to another one.
Oh.
And I recognize it because they were in something called Kaputnik Trailer Park. Well, Roger Kaputnik was Dave Berg's alter ego within the lighter side.
That's right. That's right. He and his wife and his two kids were, basically playing themselves in those little scenarios he would do.
And of course, Roger Kaputnik was always on the cover of every Dave Berg paperback.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. That was always the lighter side of, right?
The lighter side of it. It was always a specific topic. Eventually, they said, okay, they just became the lighter side of ... And then every strip had its own topic.
Yeah.
Later on, after Dave Berg's passing, another artist, they did the dark side of the lighter side, and they put new dialogue in old Dave Berg strips that made them like evil.
That's crazy, and yet I like it. It's so disrespectful, and yet it's Mad Magazine. What are you gonna do?
Oh, I mean, hey, that material's there, and they're gonna make the best use of it they can. And I mean, this was just a small sampling of the genius and outrageous humor of Mad. And again, like you, I'm sorry it didn't continue in some form. A half-hour series, perhaps, but I guess we got it later with the Cartoon Network version on some level.
Yeah, and as you point out, that was a very truncated, shortened version, which I think goes to the major issue that an animated show has, which is it takes a long time to make them and they're very expensive. So when you get something like The Simpsons or Family Guy, well, especially Family Guy, there can be so many other shows from Seth MacFarlane because they go, well, this kid just makes money, so we love him, and whatever he wants to do, we're going to put money into. Now, of course, not all of his shows were successful. Not all of them ran as long as, oh my gosh, what's the one where the dad's in the CIA?
Oh, American Dad?
American Dad.
Yes.
I mean, it's so funny because American Dad on its own was such a successful show, and yet, not a direct spin-off, but definitely it wasn't the Cleveland show. It lasted a little while. He's also had shows that lasted not very long at all.
Sure.
So anyway, as I will do, I have spun off the subject very hard. So
the subject being so what's the words on it? Intricate, involved, complex, all those great words as far as Mad Magazine and history over the decades. I mean, new material of varying quality in the later years, I have to say, but new material for over 65 years. So they finally, unfortunately, have gone to a reprint only format. My young self, which is still deep in here, is hoping that one day Mad Magazine will come back as a new source of humor, and I'll be there for it.
That would be amazing because honestly, I feel like we were so lucky as kids to have that. It was very instructional. It was very educational for me. It made me a much more sophisticated kid to have that humor. And let's put it into perspective. So here they are trying to write topical humor. It's on an animated show. So as we said, it takes a long time to make them. So you are about a year and a half behind, even though the magazine itself is about 6 months behind, as Joe pointed out. Right. And then what happened in 1975? Saturday Night Live. Mm-hmm. So you had a live show, live on the air, and that became the new form. And I have to tell you, I was still reading Mad Magazine, but I was watching Saturday Night Live every single weekend. And I wasn't really big on politics or anything. I didn't know any of that stuff. But I really did love getting this sort of magazine format of what's going on right now, what's part of pop culture, what's part of, our everyday lives, and seeing that every week. So it did comedy and having an education in comedy in the 70s was a great thing to have. Our resources were really solid. Meanwhile, all of these great TV series that are so funny, that are teaching you about comedy. The Gary Marshall shows. We were watching Happy Days just last week. Yeah. Oh my God, what's his name? The guy did I'm gonna hate myself for not knowing this. All in the Family.
Norman Lear, of course.
Norman Lear.
Yes.
I mean, we had great comedy geniuses bringing us comedy every week. We were lucky. We were very lucky as kids to have such high quality in the humor.
Well, I did promise a final anecdote. I'm going to mention that in just one moment. It will be a brief one, but pretty funny as far as personal recollection. But historically, Mad Magazine, as many people know, the first 23 issues was a standard EC comic book.
That's right.
Which largely just did takeoffs of other comic books.
Right.
Superman and so forth.
Can't remember what they called Archie, but I loved their version of Archie.
Starchy. Now, the reason it went to a magazine format with issue 24 was because at that point, the censors are cracking down on comics. So Bill Gaines saved one title from his whole roster from the Axe, basically, by making it into a magazine, which was out of the reach of the Comics Code Authority.
Yes. And here we are, Tales from the Crypt is something people still remember, but do you remember it was an EC comic?
Yes.
You know, suspense story.
And it died at that time along with everything else.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I do admire about this special, having watched it again, is that it predates by, I think, 3 years, Kentucky Fried Movie, which it's similar structure.
Yeah.
Funny, quick bits leading up to a feature presentation.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point.
And so that's very reminiscent. And finally, my promised anecdote is Mad Magazine, like many others my age, it contributed to my juvenile delinquency. I started getting bad grades, so my dad's punishment was to basically deprive me of Mad, which I'm like, no. So he took all my Mad magazines, put them in a box, stuck them in the garage. Well, of course, I sneak them in.
Yeah.
And he knows it because the lid on the box starts to pop off. But the funniest thing was that when Star Wars came out, now known as Episode 4,
yeah,
I said, Dad, so we were out of town, so I had no way of sneaking it past him. I wanted it so bad.
Yes.
Like, Star Wars.
Yeah.
Can I please have just this one? Okay, but I want to see it first. He took that magazine, he cut off the cover and the 7 pages of Star Wars and gave me that through the rest of the garbage. However, I got the whole magazine when he got back home, so it was fine.
Oh my God. Mad Magazine was the first periodical I ever had a subscription to.
Same here.
And then I would get the Mad Magazine calendar for Christmas every year too.
And they had some pretty intricate calendars. I mean, it was chock full of jokes and strips and everything.
I loved that. I love that they would never spare on the jokes. I mean, that was one of the great things about Sergio Aragonés having all of his little cartoons they would do in the margins.
The marginals, as they're called.
on
the Vital Features table of contents, it would just say at the very bottom of the listings, Marginal Thinking by Sergio Aragonés, and just as far as a page number, just say various places.
Oh my gosh. Well, I will throw one last personal anecdote in myself, and I don't know if it's easy to see. Let me see if I can. No, the microphone's in the way. Oh, can't see it. Oddly, I could see it earlier, so I'll just have to come back and grab it. On my shelf, I'd forgotten I had this. Is Good Days and Mad, the memoir of Dick DeBartolo. That's another thing too. I just loved learning about these writers and these artists. So I'm learning about all of these guys, and I'm learning how to say like Sergio Aragonés.
Exactly, and John, I have that book. I have several others. One of my prides and joy is a deluxe hardcover slipcase version. 2 huge volumes of every single Don Martin single pager.
Oh my God! Wow.
Exactly, and I'll tell you, I don't know much about it yet, but looking ahead, the rumor is that there is a comprehensive documentary on the history of Mad Magazine in the works somewhere. And we of course had that stuff covered over the years, but by others. Yeah. But that should be a pretty fascinating look at Mad.
Absolutely. Well, I think we have covered a lot of our. I think we've covered a lot of things. So, of course, it's now time for us to have another. Now, I just grabbed these randomly. Joe did not, program.
There's a special one this week, but these are great.
So we'll, Joe, I'll get from you for next week which commercials we're gonna do.
Oh, I'm your production of my simple graphics. It takes a great.
But hey, go check out joetownsend.com. I'm actually interrupting the author himself to tell you to go check him out online.
John, those are interruptions you can make anytime.
So yes, joetownsville.com, and really, check out what Joe has created, because he has created a universe of horror and intrigue and mystery, very, very entertaining, somewhat disturbing, really, tense. It's beautiful, suspenseful stuff what Joe writes. So you got to go check it out.
John, and please, I invite, as John just did, I invite everyone to check out the website. And I think that there's something there for all lovers of horror and science fiction. So please, you won't regret it.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for this week. Maybe I should have had just a little bit of music. Hang on.
There we go.
Just a smidge. That'll do it for this week's show. This was going to be a short one, and we came in at not quite an hour and a half.
Well, we were a little bit late because of my bigger technical issues.
Hey, man, you look great and you sound great.
Thank you, John. As do you.
I appreciate it because, it doesn't rain in Southern California very often. When we do this show, it rains. So that throws off my, my satellite internet, which
that just gives us, well, maybe so, that just gives us added motivation to brighten somebody's day and sit in the rain.
But what a great way to spend a Sunday evening. I love doing this show with you, Joe Townsville. And next week we will do it again, and we will have our friend Tony on.
Yes.
And tell all your friends, because that's going to be our commercials show. And I'm actually going to put it out there on our socials. And so, Joe, you feel free to do the same. Have people nominate commercials for us to look at and review on the show.
That's a great idea, because there's, as much as we find, anyone can help us out and get some stuff that we missed.
Yeah.
We want all the best things possible for it.
Yeah, if there's any kind of commercial or PSA or anything like that you like, that you want to make fun of, tell your friends. That's what we're going to be doing next week. And it's such a great idea. And it was Tony's idea.
It was Tony's idea, absolutely.
Got to give Tony Luna some big love and respect for that. All right, that's going to do it. Folks, we hope to see you again next week.
I can't wait, and I'll be coming to you once again from the Starship Luna Levy with Tony.
And it will all happen the same retro time.
Same retro channel.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Where's my end credits? There they are. It was almost smooth. I swear it was. Goodbye, Joe. See ya.
Bye, Joe.
Grab your popcorn, warm up your TV. Capt'n John Cmdr Joe got something to see. We're all back in time to the golden past with the Retro Ranger. Oh, it's such a blast. We're flying high with the Retro Ranger. Give it a try and don't be a stranger. Strap yourself in for a fun-filled flight. Retro Rangers are flying tonight. Retro Rangers, Retro Rangers, Retro Rangers, Retro Rangers.